Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Wednesday afternoon here on Kobold Press. I'm your lidless red dot. Joining me is the Kobold-in-Chief himself, Wolfgang Baur. Hi, woohoo!
I'm so happy to be here.
The crowd goes wild. Yeah, me too. It's been a while, actually, since
It has,
you've been
but
on.
this is a big one. I'm like full of beans, so you know.
Well, chat's already excited about the spilling of beans. I'm sure you all know.
Okay, a limited supply of beans.
Only a few beans. Yeah, I told them I was like, we can't spill too many, no explosions today. But we are going to spill some beans, specifically some beans about our upcoming Kickstarter, which if you've been seeing the teasers on social media, if you've been watching the videos, you can guess that it is in fact the great Tome of Beasts 3. Woohoo!
Yes!
Yep, it is coming. It is coming. So we're actually gonna crack open what you might be able to expect from that Kickstarter. We're not gonna tell you too much because the next few weeks we're gonna be slowly delving into what is gonna be in the book. But
oh, come on, let her rip! I've got a toboggan. Let's go!
I heard backstage that Wolfgang's been given permission to share some extra things today. So if you are with us today, you've chosen a good one because we'll have some fresh stuff out there.
Yeah, stuff we haven't announced anywhere.
Yeah. So, I guess the first thing we can do is, Wolfgang, what is this thing? Tome of Beasts 3.
Tome of Beasts 3.
Yeah.
It is the third of the Tome of Beasts, and the first one, I think, was 2015. And the second Tome of Beasts we shipped in 2020. Oh my God, it's 2 years ago since the last Tome of Beasts. And we said we'd never do it again. Okay, we said that quietly off stage because we were very tired. And then this time last year, no, like around the 1st of February of 21, yeah, almost a year ago now, I turned to Thomas Reed, the editorial director, and said, so what if we did a monster book? And he looked at me like, weren't you the one just saying how we're never doing
do
that again?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, but what if we started now? And he said, okay. And so literally we've been working on this thing 11 going on 12 months now of design. It is, again, 400 awesome monsters for 5th edition D&D. Every time we do it, we get better at it. Like I can tell this time we're even smarter than last time. One of the ways we're smarter is we started even earlier. And we've got just a huge pile of amazing monsters, and we've started playtests. So it's
so what I'm hearing is in 2022, not only are we going against everything we said we would not do, we're doing it earlier than ever before.
Well, because we thought that would be smart, and then we realized, oh my God, this is such a giant project. But we have some amazing people working on it. The designers we brought in are some of the people who designed some of the best stuff in Tome of Beasts 2 or Tome of Beasts 1. We're doing guest designers again this
I love our guest designers.
We didn't actually do that for Tome of Beasts 2. That's something we started in Vault of Magic, right? So it's guest designers, like we had Gail Simone and Deborah Ann Wall and Luke Gygax all in Vault of Magic, and we went back and asked some of the same people and some brand new people to be our guest designers this time. And I'm not good. It's a few. We got a few names that everybody's going to know, and we got a couple of names where we're like, oh my God, this person's so talented. We should really bring them in. And they said yes. So that's exciting too, because it's something we haven't done before.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Can you spill the beans on any of our guest designers? Now, I will say, everybody, just like we did for Vault of Magic, we are going to be bringing some of those guest designers on, so we can't tell you every one of them right now.
No, we can't.
But you can expect to see some of their amazing, talented faces here on the channel to talk about what they are designing for the book as we launch the Kickstarter.
I can say a couple of them are best known for their YouTube presence.
Oh, interesting.
One of the, all right, I'll spill the one because he was on Vault of Magic and he's back for Tome of Beasts 3. Luke Gygax is one of our guest designers.
Oh.
And I was like, really, Luke, you're in? And he was like, yeah, of course.
That's awesome.
I was jumping up and down quietly to myself, like, yay! Should I spill another one?
Well, what do we have? Okay, so we did put a blog post out, so I guess we can spill the ones that are on the blog post. So we can spill that B. Dave Walters will be joining us as one of our guest designers. Very exciting.
Goodness. Very well known to streamers everywhere. Yes. We're happy to have... There may have been some arm twisting. We may have gone back and forth. But in the end, he said yes.
We may have begged, bartered, and stealed.
Right? We're like, what's it going to take, Walters?
Sold our firstborns, but finally... We've got B. Dave on board. That's awesome. Talk about an incredible writer and designer too. I'm so excited to see what he put together. That's gonna be exciting. And then, of course, our dear Gail Simone will be back. Yes. Right?
She's back, and Gail is sort of super smart, bouncing off the walls, elusive, right? Like she's wily. She's got ideas, and she slides in at the last minute sometimes and just like, here, this is a beautiful thing I made for you. And we all just sit there going, you did what?
Wow. Yeah, right. So this has been gifted to us?
It is for us? I know we asked for it, but really? So it's great. She's turned over an art concept to the art designer, and they've been talking. So yes. That's happening as well. We're super excited that Gail Simone is back for Tome of Beasts 3 as well. So that's 3 big names.
3 big names, if I do say so myself.
That gives you some idea of what our guest designers are like, and we'll share more about their monsters as we get into it. But one thing I wanted to say about this project that maybe we announced it in the blog post. I really should go double check it. Is we are again taking backer submissions for monsters. That's a thing we're doing. And that was part of Tome of Beasts 1. It was part of Tome of Beasts 2. And every time we say to ourselves, it's going to be 1,000 monsters. And like, we're going to have to read them all. And 900 of them will be sort of, well, that's fine. But nobody's, warping their whole campaign to put that in there. And 100 of them will be, no, this is the best. No, this is the best. No, this is the best. And then we got to argue for weeks. Our judges are like, no, this is the best. Actually, usually there's one monster at the top. Like the Swobold was extremely popular. That was, I think, a backer monster. Mm-hmm. The Alliumite, the sort of weird garlicky plant people, that was super popular, right? The Shark Bowl Ooze was a little...
which, by the way, if anybody cares, we actually have that in an emote.
Oh, do we?
We do.
Have the Shark Bowl?
I turned it. Look, there it is in chat, everybody. There's the Shark Bowl, the Ooze Bowl, because it was such a fan favorite. And actually, we have a couple of our beasts available. If you give bits to the channel, you start gaining access to our bestiary. I think we have that one, and the Swobold is on here.
Do we have Snake with 100 mage hands?
No, but that's a personal favorite of mine. I have done some sneaky, tricky stuff as a GM with that character. What is the other one we have? We have
Alehouse Drake.
What do we have? We've got the bear mitt, the like crab thing.
I love that thing.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was so hard to get the art. Yeah, they're all charming and lovely, and if you support the channel, you get access to these. Yes. We got to do more of those.
Yeah, they're so cute. So anyways, get bits, get beasts. That's what I heard.
Right? Well, I mean, we have, I should actually say, some of the core designers on this book are people whose first published design was as a backer, right? Like either in Tome of Beasts 1 or 2. Sebastian Rumbach, and I think he did the Alliumite. Oh my God, I can't remember. There's so many monsters. I should know them all. He's back writing a goodly chunk, like 20 or more monsters in Tome of Beasts 3. So I'm always happy to see it when somebody shows up and like 4 years later, they're like a regular.
Yeah. And now they're just, they're on board every time. You need to fight a charcoal ooze to your next neighborhood barbecue. So we do have a question. When is Tome of Beasts 3 going to launch the funding period in Kickstarter? So I guess when can we expect to see that coming?
I think we're looking at the end of the month. We're still scurrying around backstage, pulling together a few things, right? It's not launching this week, and it's probably not launching next week, but it's definitely launching before the end of the month. I don't want to put a date on it yet, because like the moment we have the video and a couple of things I can't talk about locked down, then it's going live. The best thing to do to know the minute it goes live is sign up for the notification through Kickstarter. There's a widget. You can search Tome of Beasts 3 on Kickstarter, right?
Oh, nice.
And it will show you it's coming soon. And you just throw an email in there and it will tell you the minute it launches.
Oh, yes. And I've dropped a link, everybody, in chat. That's where you can go make that happen. Put your email in. That way you don't miss it.
Right?
Yeah.
The moment we launch is going to be huge for us. And we are going to start sharing information about monster design, all the stretch goals, how to submit your own monster, the guest designer monster, all of that during the campaign. So don't miss day one. It's always sort of a big important I know every Kickstarter person says this, but it's true.
It is.
Like having a big day one is kind of important, because then Kickstarter shows your project to more people, and
it gives us an idea too of just like how we're trending, what we can expect for all of the extra stuff coming. You know, those things are important just for production purposes. So
they totally are.
Now, a good question here. We do have the layers cover art, but I can't show it to you yet.
Correct.
That was one of the things I was told I cannot show yet, but keep an eye on our social media because it is coming, which actually tells you that you're not getting one book, but two books through the Kickstarter, right? And so it's not just the Beast book, it's also the Layers. The Layers book. And in the past, Tome of Beasts 1 and 2 had Layers books, but they were soft covers. And they're great, because they take the monsters from the book and make them immediately playable with, one map and a Cloud of Fury, and it's great, but they weren't hardcovers. And this time, our Book of Layers for Tome of Beasts 3 is, in fact, a hardcover book. It's going to be a good one. It's a big one, and I think we're looking at least 18 layers more with stretch goals, probably more. So, like, we're making it bigger, we're making it hardcover, we've been working on it earlier, so it's even better, and it's going to have full VTT support. So Layers is a big deal part of this project. You can get both hardcovers or both PDFs or both VTT, all that sort of thing. But that one, I love the Layers books, honestly. They're so good. And okay, so to clarify in chat, there is a Layers cover. There is also a limited edition cover for each of these, which I can't also show you those yet. Those will be released with the Kickstarter. Can't show you the limited edition yet, but I can tell you that it is going to be a 2-color print again. Yes, it is. The 2-color foil. It's going to be beautiful. Oh my God, yes. It looks so good. And it is the same person, Addison Rankin, the artist who did Tome of Heroes in that 2-color foil, and Vault of Magic in 2-color foil. So he has signed on to do it again because he's just so great. But we should talk about the regular cover. That's good too. Yeah, the regular cover. So we actually, some people are already commenting, loving the monster here. What is it? Can you tell us that? I can. That is one of the beans I have to spill today. So the monster there is called the Bonelord. The designer on it is actually one of the kobolds. It's Scott Gable, who edits. Oh, nice. Yes, he's the designer on it. He edits the Warlock series. He's all over like Warlock Lairs and zines and the Grimoires, and he works on all kinds of projects. But he also does game design and has for many years. That's his design. They're sort of so the Bonelord is one of these amalgam of bones coming out of a mass grave or a graveyard. Like I see. Where there's too much necromancy, there's come together. Lord. Yeah. Yes. So the Bonelord rises to, punish the living. And as you can see, it's got some zombies and stuff around, right? Right. And it is, in fact, as the title suggests, it can command other undead. It can tell them to attack, but more than that, what makes Bonelords especially terrifying to your players is it makes other undead better, right? It makes them move faster. It makes their attacks more dangerous. It makes them, resist your efforts to destroy them.
it can pick up nearby zombies and throw them right at the.
Wow.
It's huge and it's full of fun actions. I really like the design on this one, and there's a reason we picked it for the cover, basically. Yeah, well, A, I love Undead, and B, Scott did a great job on the design.
A great job.
But the artist, have we even said the cover artist on this?
Nope.
It's Chris Rallis.
Oh, really?
Yes, who does a ton of Magic the Gathering art.
Mm-hmm.
And
yep.
It was one. All right, I'll tell you the backstory. Mark Riddle, the Kobold art director, was like, who do we want? Who do we want? And I'm like, well, what about this guy? What about that guy? And he's like, And I'm like, well, what about this guy? He's probably busy. And it was really just, well, just ask him, make him say no, right? And we'll dream on, right? But he said yes. We were like, wait, what?
Really?
Oh.
That's awesome. We made it to the Cool Kids Club, Wolfgang. We made it to the Cool Kids Club.
Apparently we have. I mean, we've worked with Magic the Gathering artists before. Kobold Press has worked with artists who work on like Hearthstone or, you know, pick your property, D&D stuff from WotC. But anyway, we were really happy to get him on this. He turned out a great cover. And yeah, the Bonelord is just one of those monsters that I think players are gonna rue the day.
Yeah. I look forward to people talking about their campaigns using it, or the sticky situations they put their players in, because it looks like no small feat.
Yes. I mean, not everything is a big bad, but that one definitely is. We've done little stuff too. There's some little fiends. There's some trolls, goblins,
and
all sorts
there'll
of
be
things.
NPCs in the book, I heard, as well.
Yes. This is something that all the Tome of Beasts have done, is an NPC appendix or an appendix of some kind, fleshing out an area that we think could use more variety, a broader range of options. And for the NPC appendix, okay, I have a bean here. I actually spoke to our editor on this. Megan Miracle, the editor on Tome of Beasts 2 and Creature Codex, is also the editor on Tome of Beasts 3. She's the lead on it.
Nice.
And she tells me that the NPCs this time, I haven't dug through the NPCs yet, but there are like dwarven pike guards. There's some cult leaders. There's an infiltrator that sounds pretty good.
That's
cool. Yeah, and there's something that she really liked called the Infested Duelist. I'm like, what does that mean? He's crawling with lice? It sounds gross, Megan. That's awful. And she said, no, it's not that gross. They're duelists. They're warriors who've been infested with this plant.
Oh.
And it is sort of I would describe it as sort of like a Blade Runner replicant thing. Like, they gain great power, but it shortens their lifespan.
Oh, is it like a fungus?
Yeah, I'm not real clear on the lore part, but some sort of plant or fungus that makes them faster, meaner, tougher, right? Just like replicant-y, Blade Runner-y, but also they only last so long, which is sort of good for a villainous hench creature.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting NPC. I don't think it goes everywhere, but I was first grossed out, and then I was like, oh, wait, I know exactly where I want to use these guys. Because I finished writing some stuff for Warlock, a future issue of the Warlock zine recently, and I'm like, yes, that's where I'm putting them. So, cool. So, I mean, part of the brief to the editors this time, part of what I told Thomas and Megan and Scott was, this is our third time around with Tome of Beasts. Let's not repeat stuff we've done, right?
Yeah,
let's
new stuff.
So high utility,
nice. Some
repetition. Like, there are monsters that people love and that they're happy to see us do another, I don't know, Trollkin. I love Trollkin. I don't know if anybody else loves Trollkin. But certain things that have been in prior Tome of Beasts. Actually, there's a new Alliumite, perhaps.
Oh.
So I think maybe that's Tome of Beasts 2. The trouble is we've already got 300 new monsters. We are picking and choosing what's going in the book. We're playtesting like mad right now.
Nice.
Um,
Love to hear
and
it's
so
play
I'm
tested. That's always good.
Yes. When we started the playtest discussion back in October, like what are we going to playtest and how? And we just opened it up. Okay, so I have a bean to spill about playtest. I
Okay.
probably shouldn't. Maybe I should. All right.
Just note,
So
Alexander is watching.
All right, tough. Too bad. You can yell at me later, Alexander. We wanted to start the playtest earlier. Remember my whole thing about we're starting earlier so that we finish on time. And so the playtest call went out to people who were some of our best playtesters on Tome of Heroes, which was a playtest we did last fall, right? So some of those people have gotten a, would you like to playtest something new?
Okay.
And people who are patrons of the Warlock Patreon. So,
nice.
Not the $1 a month patrons, like the real patrons who are like $3. I forget what the
one of the higher tier. Yeah, one of the higher pledge tiers.
We didn't want to put it out for just the public, but if you are
that's a lot of people for playtest.
It is. But literally, if you sign up today with the Warlock Patreon, you can also sign up for the Tome of Beasts 3 playtest and get a look at least a few monsters.
That's pretty cool. Let's see if I can't link y'all for that.
Yes, there is a link for that. And this is something new. I mean, the Warlock Patreon for years has been where we preview stuff and test stuff. And it has a lot of Midgard content. Tome of Beasts 3 is generic. It's not Midgardy, right? Like, we're not doing a Midgard book. We're doing every D&D campaign ever can pull monsters out of Tome of Beasts 3. But the Warlock gang, they tend to be experienced players. They tend to have opinions. And some of them are great playtesters. So we put it out there. Heck, if you sign up this week, you'll probably get the zine that releases next week. So anyway, it's always a good time to sign up for Warlock, but we are trying something new with our playtesting regulars. No, that's not quite right. Our call for playtesters to reach people even before the Kickstarter starts. So this is sort of an internal playtest, or those who follow Kobold Press closely can get their hands on some of this. There will, of course, also be a playtest the moment the Kickstarter launches.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
So if you're a backer, it will be easy to sign up within a couple of days. Now,
we do have some questions coming through. Some of them are good. It seems that people are concerned. Is this the last Beast book?
Yes. Tome of Beasts 3.
This is it.
Third.
It's a trilogy.
Done. It's a trilogy.
It's a trilogy.
In the fantasy school, you do 3 and you're done, unless your name is like Brandon Sanderson or something, or I don't know. Terry Pratchett is allowed to do, or Douglas Adams did a trilogy of 5 books. Okay, we might do more than 3, but really.
But I mean,
no,
here's the thing.
I don't wanna.
We're more
done.
codex. We can do more codex, like Beasts.
That's weaselly, but I like it. And this is the. I mean. Well, here's the other thing that we learned in the past year, right? Like there was a lot of, but we've done that already. Or we've done that already and this isn't different enough, right? So like we've enlarged the design space, the play space for D&D players by like 1,000 monsters here, right? And at some point we say, I think we're good. We should focus on, I don't know, Deep Magic 2 instead, right? Or Vault of Magic 2 instead. Something like that. I think this is the last one. So if you want to publish a monster in a Tome of Beasts, this is hone it.
This is it.
Get
this
it ready
is the chance.
now. Like read that Kobold Guide to Monsters.
Yeah. Yeah. And this, here we go. This leads really nicely into this question, which is maybe what you learned in the last 2 Beasts, and what are you most excited about for this book?
All right. Well, the first one we learned, oh my goodness, what a monumental effort it is just alone on art, right?
Oh, yes.
We had never before commissioned 400 pieces of art for a single project. And we ran out of artists on book 1, right? Like we were like, so that's one. This time we work that very differently. The art has been coming in smoothly and steadily for the last 6 months. We don't have all of it because we haven't funded all of it, but we're getting there. We're doing well on art. Some of it was just what we learned on the first one was our internal Kobold Press level setting for difficulty is one notch higher than the Wizards of the Coast level, right? Like, if you call the monster manual easy mode, normal mode, like Tome of Beasts 1 is hard mode. It's not impossible. It's totally beatable. But the power curve on what we consider an appropriate CR1 or CR3 or CR10 challenge is just a notch higher for our books. And at first, what we thought we were learning, when it was time to do like Tome of Beasts 2 and Creature Codex, we're like, should we tamp down the power curve? Should we kind of squish it? And I mean, this is a serious discussion we had in the early days is, you know, did we go too far? But most GMs and most players said, yeah, it's harder, but it's more thrilling. The combats are more exciting. We think actually the monster manual power curve is maybe a little too easy for people who have been playing a long time, or, you know, so we kind of stuck by our guns with Tome of Beasts 2, and we're going to do that for Tome of Beasts 3 as well. The power curve will be a little tougher than the Wizards of the Coast power curve is. That's something we learned. Oh my gosh, that's one of the big lessons. Of course, we learned things about mechanics and presentation and how to run a play test. What I'm looking forward to here, right, on Tome of Beasts 3 is partly the power of hey, we've done this and we are designing a year in advance. We're playtesting 9 months and 9 months in advance. And we've learned a lot of technical stuff about how to ship a big book like this. Some of it's just like, how do you get it around the world globally, right? But some of it, what we didn't have at the time of Tome of Beasts 1 was virtual tabletops. Like, that was 5-6 years ago. We did support Roll20 at the time, I think, and maybe Fantasy Grounds. But Shard Tabletop didn't exist.
Right.
Foundry did not exist.
Wasn't there, yeah.
And so a huge amount of what we've learned as well is how to do this for an online play space. But I don't want to get too into
I mean, that's
software development, but it is a big learning curve.
That is a big learning curve. I mean, you started out on what, LiveJournal?
Yes, that was 15 years ago.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a big trajectory, and now so much is in like a strangely like digital space that it is a learning curve for publishers. You know?
Yes. I mean, the print book is still sort of the beating heart of it, but the VTTs require just as much time and attention, and you know, hours, and likewise our PDFs have gotten better. Our layers are better, and then there's like 2 or 3 things we're doing on this Kickstarter that I'm itching to talk about that we've never done before on a Tome of Beasts. I'm gonna shut up now, though.
Okay, well,
I can
that might have
feel
to be...
Alexander glaring at the screen right now.
I was about to say, that's probably a bean for a different day.
Yes,
a different Kobold Chats. Yeah, there will be more beans. Well, this is really interesting. What do you think is maybe an underrepresented like beast or creature that maybe we're hoping to see some of in this tome?
Oh, man, that's good.
I think Chad is in agreement. Goats. We need more goats. Please.
Goats. Yeah, maybe. We had a goat man in Tome of Beasts 1.
It's true. And you have the cave goat, which didn't come out of one of the beasts.
The cave goat, yes.
You know.
That came out of Empire of the Ghouls, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So, yes, more goats. I was going to go with giants, but not the giants. So, like, the giant category of monsters includes things like ogres and trolls and stuff, right? But everybody thinks it's just giant, frost, giant, fire. But I think there's room to do some giants that are not as giant. Okay, that sounds ridiculous, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, they don't fall into like stereotypical giant.
Right? They're very big humanoids, and they should be interesting.
I'd like to see like a giant,
to the
like
designers.
I don't know, cross-stitch giant who does like the tiniest cross-stitch with their big giant hands. Like they're well known for their like finely crafted clothing or something like really, really intricate, and then they have to do it with these big giant fingers and these tiny little needles. Break the mold.
Yes, I think we need to get away from the hurl boulder smash with club, right? That's a hurtful stereotype of giants. And let them be precise with pie baking or...
Oh, that's nice.
Perhaps small machine tooling.
Do you know, long ago, I wrote a one-shot.
Carpentry.
And I'll tell you this because I know you love goblins. I love goblins and giants, too. They're two of my favorites. So I wrote this ridiculous one-shot that's all about the sorority fraternity lifestyle of goblins. You go to this goblin party, and to be accepted, you have to go steal underwear from a giant. You have to go underwear raid a giant and come back with this huge pair of undergarments from a giant. Filthy
bedsheet size.
And you have to bring it all the way back. Yeah, it was a ridiculous one shot. But, there you go. It's a different view of the giant lifestyle.
There's been underwear in my campaign recently. So my daughter's been playing a gnome. And for some reason, they've been fighting goblins. And at some point, the defeated goblin, she was like, I'm looting everything. I'm like, what's everything? Armor, weapons, gold, underwear. What? Underwear. So I can make a sling. I'm like, you're making slings out of goblin. Okay.
What a hero child that is. That is amazing. Right? I love that so much.
It's like, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes, and it smells bad. All right.
Now,
so there will be additional categories.
Okay.
There is actually a gigantic spreadsheet that I'm probably not allowed to talk about too much of monsters by terrain,
nice,
by challenge rating, by type.
Okay.
And we are filling in a couple of thus far unnoticed holes in the D&D monster lineup, right?
Okay.
And providing support for some popular areas, right? Like dungeon monsters always popular. Arctic and swamp monsters somewhat popular. Forest monsters usually popular, right? So we're doing all those, and the spreadsheet basically says we've got coverage for any kind of adventure you want to run. Planar,
cool,
city adventure, right? Like there are some new unique monsters for all of those.
That sounds awesome. No, and that actually leads kind of my next question, which was a little bit about the layout of the book. We had some questions in chat about the stat blocks themselves we're looking at those things like kind of being laid out the same. We had some questions about tables and some other stuff that we might find in the book. I'm guessing there's a yes to all of that.
I think we're doing all the tables that we did in Tome of Beasts 2. So by CR, by type, by terrain, and the NPCs in an appendix. I think it's going to be like the formula is working, and the feedback we got on the first two has come to the third, but a lot of the feedback is keep doing that. Oh, and maybe do this. So we're not looking to make big changes, but we are refining. Yeah, there are little bits of the layout. We're not at layout yet, by the way, right? Like we haven't funded, we haven't launched. Like I know what the sample page looks like, but everything is still in playtest or editing at this point.
Okay.
And some of it hasn't been designed because those backer monsters, we don't expect to see backer monsters till February, really.
Right, yeah, until we can get it a little deeper into it. Because you're saying, end of the month launch probably, so that makes sense in terms of timeline.
Yeah.
Question about any half kobolds that we've designed. Have we ever designed a half kobold?
No, and we're not going to. I can put a thumb down on that right now. Never gonna happen. In a lifetime
Love
long
our
ago,
kobolds.
I know, I love them too, but kobolds and humans just not genetically compatible. Too different. I don't know. One is an egg-laying species, one is a live birth species. So I have a degree in biology that I've never used, right? But I'm still offended.
Except for your beast books.
Except for my piddly little, no, your fantasy is wrong. If you want to have half kobolds in your game, go ahead, have fun. I'm not going to tell you no. However, I'm not enabling that unbiologically sound concept.
Just can't happen. Like, some parts just don't mix with other parts.
I don't know. There will be kobolds, but they will be full bore, kobold and a half, swobolds.
Yeah, I would like to see. I think I would like to see another kobold option. Like, we have the swobold. Is there like I don't know, a mean girl bold? Like, I want to see is there like a mean girl version of the swobold? Like, I want to see new swobold options. Which I think leads me to my next question, which is, say I want to submit my mean girl kobold. How does one go about doing such a thing for this?
All right. So what we've done in the past is we have put together our list of requirements, like it's so and so many words. And I have a bean to drop about word count later. And it's, formatted this way, and it's this kind of monster, and it meets all the criteria of the kind of monster that's publishable.
Okay.
It's not derived from the Star Wars universe. It doesn't infringe on Wizards of the Coast IP.
Right.
It's not from Lord of the Rings or, any of that. All of the sort of common sense, it's got to be a good, original, exciting, well-designed, playable, compact, clear, effective, delightful, attractive, beautiful, or hideous and ugly, whatever. It's got to be all of those things that you could read about in Kobold Guide to Monsters, or that you'll see on a backer post when we go live. And then you send it to us and we make it anonymous, right? Like, there's a very particular way that we ask people to submit the manuscript. Like, here's my text, and we want you to leave your name off it, for instance, because they're judged blind.
Oh, nice. Okay. So
we never know who has written what. And for all we know, like, I don't know. Ed Greenwood and Jeremy Crawford have submitted every time, and we've rejected them without knowing it. Like, it could happen. I doubt it. But whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. We don't know. But more often what we see happen is people whose names we don't know, who we haven't worked with before, float to the top. Because they've got a great idea and they've presented it well. People ask us about stuff like point size and like which version of word processing software or like line length or stuff, and I was like, that's not really what we're most concerned about. We're most concerned about an exciting monster that the judges want to play. There's usually about 5 judges, so it helps also to have some sense of what we've already done. Occasionally this makes the judge's job easy. We get something like, we did that in Tome of Beasts 1. Like, it's on page 20. How do you miss it, right? Like, we did this monster or this concept. So
what I'm hearing is, don't use anybody else's content, all original.
Yep.
Leave your name off of it.
Yep.
Oh. Go through the other Beast books and make sure you don't submit something we've already printed.
Yep.
Right.
And be aware that it's paid work, right? Like, if we accept your monster, we will pay you and acquire the rights to publish it.
That's nice.
So you will be a paid designer. You will be credited in the credits page as a designer. And if you are not, in fact, accepted, then we are not acquiring rights, and you can do whatever you want with your monster, right? But we're not asking people to do this out of the goodness of their hearts. They might, but you do, in fact, get a contract for the work. Nice. And you become a published author in every respect. We'll even send you a little tax form at the end of the year as freelance income, something like that.
Nice.
Right? Like,
Fancy and official.
Fancy and official, like you have officially designed a thing. Oh, and well, one of the things that people whose backer monsters are published often are most excited about is the illustration, right?
Yeah.
Because if the art comes back and you know, it's not always the way people imagine it, but sometimes they're like, oh my god, it's so much better.
It's even better than I could have. Yeah, that's the great thing about artists. They always blow my mind.
Right? It's like, I designed this monster and then this artist illustrated it and it's in a book. And the art occasionally gets, like, I don't know, blown up and framed somewhere. So it's fun to see backer names who are, you know, just giving it a shot. And then 2 years later, you're like, oh, they did a thing for, you know, for us or for somebody else, or they did a thing on DM's Guild. So.
Right. I'm guessing art is not supplied with monster submission. That's something that is requested if you're selected.
Yeah, we would ask you for a description of the monster if we select it, right? But if you supply art, we will probably throw it away at the send it to the judges stage, because not everybody is artistically talented. Really, we want your best writing, your crunchy rules, your rich, juicy flavor. We don't want you to spend, I mean, you can illustrate it if you want, but we have a group of illustrators. So yeah. Please don't send that.
Now, will Tome of Beasts 3 be compatible with the new format of monster layout being used by Wizards of the Coast? Is that something, or are we sticking with to match the other two books?
We talked about that when it was first announced, and the editor said, yes, it's compatible with the new format.
Great. There you go. Easy peasy answer. Now, let's say somebody wants to submit a monster. How does that happen? Where do they go to do that?
When do they submit it? So to do that, they have to wait for the project to launch.
Right. End of the month.
Yep. They need to have their monster written, ready, and done. You can only submit it once.
One time.
Yeah. We're not doing no, wait, I forgot. I missed a comma. Here's another. Wait, no, I changed the name. Wait, no, I this isn't unbalanced. We're not doing it. You submit it once. We throw away every entry by the same person that comes in after the first one. But there's an email address, a secret email address that we announce only to backers.
Oh, I see.
A backer-only post. And then later, we check the list of the ones that are accepted as the winners, and we make sure that they're actually backers.
They're still backers.
Right, or they didn't pass it on to their friend Timmy, who submitted a monster but never backed the project.
Right. It
is a sort of pay-to-play thing. Like, you have to be in the project to submit.
Right, so basically, once you back the project, information will go out about how to submit.
Yep, and we will put down a date and the email and the format and how we separate your name from the submission, so it's anonymous. Like, there's a whole process we use
for it. Mm-hmm.
Right, so that it's judged anonymously, but there's a third party who has monster name, designer name, and can put them back together later on.
That's just one more reason to go ahead and make sure that you get the notification when the Kickstarter goes live. I dropped that link one more time in chat, everybody, where you can go and do that. That way you don't miss it, right? Because nobody likes to miss things.
But I'm going to circle back, though, before your next question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to circle back to the word count thing, that bean I mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
In the past, people who backed Tome of Beasts 1 and 2 will remember there's a really tight cap of 550 words for your monster.
Ooh, okay.
If you go over the cap, we're not interested, right? Or if you go over by 5 words, the judges might huddle and say, okay, only because you're the best, right? Or they might say, you're over by 10 words, get out.
Yeah, too much.
That's up to the judges, but really there's a hard cap that you want to meet. We are talking for Tome of Beasts 3 about raising the cap above 550 words. Not a lot, but a little. So I know that was always a struggle for people on prior projects, but you might have an extra 20, 50, 35. I don't know. The editors will decide, and we'll announce it as part of that announcement to backers, but you're going to have a few more words to play with in the design, and every word counts.
Yeah. All right. Which means that, we haven't launched yet, and we're not launched until the end of the month, so you all have time now to start figuring that out, like working through your word count, getting your ideas down, just start writing.
Yeah, if you've got 2 or 3 ideas and you write them up now and you play them with your group once before the end of the month and you say, wow, everybody loved this one and hated that one, it gives you focus, right?
Yep.
I wouldn't put it out in a public forum and, do a big talk about it, because then somebody else will say, what a great idea, I'm going to submit that.
Yoink. Yeah. And it is it's not only just a single submission of a monster, it's a single submission total. You can't submit multiple monsters, basically.
No.
So you get your one monster. So even more important to decide which one you want to submit before you submit.
There was a deeply cynical suggestion that you would be allowed to submit more if you were like backing a bigger tier or something. And I'm like, no.
That's like a raffle.
Vote. It's not a raffle. You don't buy tickets. You get one shot. That's how it works.
Like everybody else, yeah. Let's see. Does the word count include the stat block itself or just the description?
Yes.
It does include the stat block.
Includes the stat block. If your stat block is super wordy, because it all needs to fit on a page, right? People try to weasel out of the word count. This conversation is sounding so familiar from 2 years ago. No, every word counts because we have to put it all on a page. And it's not just about the physical page, even if it's for a VTT.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the game master needs to be able to skim the monster and say, this, that, and this are the bits that I need for this round, right? If you make a super wordy monster like 800 words or 1,000 words, it's harder to run at the table. It's not just impossible to print on a single page. It's harder to run. And you'll notice the Wizards of the Coast monsters are all pretty tight and short. And I believe this might be a lesson over time. We have kind of locked in around 500 to 600 words as our sweet spot on both what fits on a page and what is readable, parsable, playable.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is aim for 550. If they extend it, then you're real lucky. You can go back and add more stuff as you prep.
You can add some flavor. You can add that weird variant you wanted to add.
Yeah, so start at the limit, and it looks like, coming from both behind the scenes kobolds and the kobolds on screen, best to stick to the word count, y'all. Seems like that's the pro designer tip here.
Yes.
So as people continue to build these out, we talked about like original content, maybe play test them or try them out if you can before.
Yes.
What is maybe another tip or two that you could give people that might be good consideration as they work towards submission?
Yeah. All right, so I'm one of the 5 judges every time, so I'll just tell you my biases. Other judges have their own pet peeves, and I know what some of them are, but I'll let them come on chats and talk about those. I am biased toward monsters in the CR 1/4 to 3 range. Anything tier 1, basically, is going to get a little bit of a boost from me, because I know that those are going to see more table time than any CR 15, 18, 22, right? Like, end bosses for a campaign 5 years in are great, but what I really need week after week is, God, I'm sick of goblins, what else have you got, right? So low level for me. There's certainly an argument to be made for tier 2 content, but the higher up you go, the more likely it is that it's kind of a niche concept. I would avoid all the stuff that is, how do I put it, only of a very particular place and time, right? Like, if it's, this works perfectly in a Renaissance campaign, of Italian city-states, or this works in, the Mughal Raj in India. Well, no, right? Like, if it's too culturally specific, I ditch it. D&D is sort of high fantasy for everybody. And we bring in a lot of European tropes, and we bring in occasional North American monsters in the Tome of Beasts. You'll have noticed there's some native monsters. And once in a while, we'll bring in something Chinese or Filipino or Indian. But your best bet is this is a monster that could crawl around any dungeon, haunt any forest, wander the plains next to fiends that we all know and love. So, I don't know. Genericness is not the right word. Broad utility. Let me say that.
That's good. Yeah, it needs to be a good utility. Yeah, have a lot of utility.
And the third thing I'd say is, well, you can get most of this out of Kobold Guide to Monsters, but there's a crunch and rules element that I look for, which is it's nice if your monster has the basic attack and a ranged attack and or a spell attack or something, right? Those are terrific. I want that. But what will really sell me is if it does something that no other monster does and that isn't just a spell in a can, right? So if it, I don't know, turns heroes into rubber bands or, forces everyone to attend a tea party, I'm like, well, that's something I've never seen before.
Right, that's a choice, yeah.
That's a choice. Perhaps too narrow a choice, but still, I haven't seen it. And even if or especially if the rules element and the mechanical element are fused beautifully, like I'm doing something with vertical movement in this monster. It's great for pits and wells and cliff sides and stuff. Oh, okay, that's great. It's a cliff monster. Well, how does that work mechanically, right? Like D&D isn't all that built around vertical movement.
Right, yeah. So how do you...
So like if you have then a cool mechanic that says, well, this is how vertical movement works when the spider monster carries you up the cliff. I'm like, oh, what a clever concept that works beautifully with your theme, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm totally sold. So yeah, do all those things. It's easy.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, make that happen. Chop, chop. Let's see. Good suggestions from some of our own writers in chat, right?
Yes.
Higher level monsters are much harder to get into 600 words.
Yes.
Right. So just
true.
think, so very true. Because they need a lot of extra if they are an extra level monster. So be it. But we did have a nice little and I will say we are wrapping up, everybody. So if you have a burning desire question, now is the grand time to ask it. But a question for both you and I. Favorite 5e creature or monster ever, including third-party products, our stuff. Do you have a favorite monster?
I do.
I do.
I
too.
like the Void Dragon.
I know.
Love
Yeah,
Void Dragon
you love Void magic so much. You like Void anything so much.
I've been writing a bunch of Void stuff for reasons. So,
Nice.
yes, I'm especially into it right now.
Well,
What's
I'll say,
yours?
let's see. Okay, I'll give two of my favorite kobold, and then I'll give another one because it is also a personal favorite critter. Okay, so I have a really big soft spot for mimics.
Yeah.
I do, and
They're awesome.
I really love the carnivorous ship. I think it is one of the most brilliant, hysterical.
Yes.
The way that I've used it in the past, none of the players ever suspect that it is a carnivorous ship. They just think it's the bad guy. And every time I've ever tried to use it, they are silly. I'm not going to say they're stupid because they don't know. They are gullible enough to pull up directly alongside it and mount the carnivorous ship because they want to go fight the figures on board. Love it.
Fight.
It's one of my favorites. I also think that a Snake with 1,000 Mage Hands is another extremely fun. In fact, I used it in the Warlock that I wrote, and I even suggested that, if anybody can communicate with it, you might be able to talk your way. You might be able to talk him out of, stealing all of your stuff, right? Because that's his whole goal. I even put a suggestion. I was like, it's also really nice. He's a sneaky snake. What if he just follows them for days in this dungeon and just slowly steals their stuff. And stuff just starts going missing. Like, it doesn't have to be one of these things that they face him head on. Like, I think the Snake with 1,000 mage hands is just hysterical. Or 100 mage hands.
Everyone looks at the rogue and looks at the rogue again and looks at the rogue. And, like,
everybody starts blaming each other for stealing your stuff, but there's actually just a sneaky snake with 100 hands going through your stuff while you rest at night. I just think those two in particular are cheeky. They're cheeky for me. They're little cheeky monsters, and I really love them. But outside of Kobold, I do have a deep love of the corpse flower. I grew up in the swamps, literally. Like, I grew up in a swamp area, and so I have a deep affinity towards swamp creatures. But there's something about the corpse flower I just think is so macabre and beautiful. And as the druid at heart, there's something about that idea of, like, decomposition for something really beautiful. I love the corpse flower. I think it's such a fun creature.
Southern Gothic all over. All right, I love it.
Yep, Void Magic. Let's see. Where can we read about that? We have Void Magic in Deep Magic, yes?
It's in Deep Magic.
It's in Deep Magic.
And somewhere else that's not announced.
And somewhere else. Yeah, we can't talk about that.
Something I made turnover yesterday. I'm really excited. We should talk about happy little kobolds, right?
We should, as we round up. So this is not the only thing that's coming down the pipeline here.
It feels like it, but it's not.
It's not. We got a lot of stuff happening on the channel. So, we've got a new show coming next week, everybody. Not an actual play either. It's going to be happening right after Kobold Chats. So we end here at 1 p.m. Pacific. I have to do math in my head. And at 1:30, we got a little bit of setup time. We're going to be launching our very first mini painting show. It's called Happy Little Kobolds. It's adorable and cute.
Yes.
And our first guest is, I believe, announced. Let me double check that before I spoil anything. But I'm pretty sure our first guest is announced.
It's the ghost of Bob Ross.
It's the ghost, yes. Yeah. We're going to be bringing on actual mini painters, people who do this and are extremely, extremely good at it, to come teach me how to paint minis, because I am not a mini painter. So we're going to be partnering with Effin' Cool Minis, who is actually working through our bestiary and making our beast, our Kobold Press beast, into miniatures, and we'll be painting those miniatures. We'll be doing it a couple hours. It's going to be partial interview, partial teach Dot to paint minis, and hope and pray that I don't screw up live in front of all of you. Or maybe I do, you know what, and I just own that. But
happy accidents.
Happy accidents, that's right. Happy accidents. Let's see. I'm gonna so I can tell you our first guest is gonna be Kifa Studios, so Kevin, which is he does mini painting. He's incredible, absolutely amazing. So you'll be able to,
talented.
Yes, super talented. So I'm gonna get some grade A schooling here next Wednesday, so you can hang around, and hopefully it'll be a little bit of like a chill show too. I find that anytime I watch painting shows or creative shows, it's always kind of nice to just have on in the background. I have some really fun Bob Rossi style music, like chill music we're gonna play while we paint. So maybe it'll be a good afternoon stream for you to put on as you wind down your day or come out of lunch or whatever. Happy painting accidents. We've got that show coming up. I'm trying to think if I can announce any other shows coming down the pipeline. We will be doing Happy Little Kobolds every 3 weeks. So it will become a regular show. We're just going to have some gaps in between because there's logistical stuff. And if y'all like it enough, who knows? Maybe we'll start doing it a little bit more regular. Let's see. Yeah. Yes, don't forget to strike your brush against your easel just to beat the devil out of it. Anything else we've got going on? Last week we had a really fantastic interview with a bunch of our Kobold writers around Grimoire 3. So you can go check that out. It was one of just a really great conversation. First off, you got to see a lot of the faces of the people behind a lot of the writing that comes out of Kobold Press. But they gave some just really awesome stuff. They talked about each what they had put into it, but a lot about writing too. Like we actually got to talk about the Easter eggs that they tend to put into like their writing and the things that make their stuff very personal. So I found it just to be a really, really great deep dive conversation with game design writers. And it might be beneficial for those of you that are wanting to submit a monster just to go hear other writers and that are writing for us talk about their process and getting that together. So you can check that out over on our YouTube. I believe actually it still has one more week here on Twitch. You can get the VOD here and over there. But anything that we stream here, you'll be able to go get over on YouTube. So go check us out over on YouTube and get caught up on anything that you might be missing. And then over the next few weeks, you can expect some interviews with some of these guest designers as we reveal more and more and more about Tome of Beasts 3.
Yes. Oh, and do we have that notification link?
Oh, yes, I sure do. Boom. There's a notification link. Yeah, don't forget to clean your brush in your tea. Yeah, I'm a bit concerned. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to like sort my space out for this because I will be the goober that goes from like my coffee to my paint or vice versa. So, but yeah, any last minute burning questions before we wrap up for today? Let's give them a second to ask. Anything else we can announce? Coming down the pipeline, I know a lot of you want to like to see us in person.
Yes.
I believe GaryCon. We're going to be at GaryCon.
Yes,
we will be at GaryCon. For any of you that are going to Connuga, that's in February. That's in Chattanooga. I will be at Connuga. So you can drop by and see me there. I'll be running some tables. And then after that, I'll tell you this, there may still be time if anybody's feeling saucy and needs a vacation. I'll be running games for D3 at Sea, which is a cruise happening in March. And you can come. We're going to be going to like Costa Mesa and Cozumel and some really beautiful places, but I'm running all Kobold Press product at my two tables, my morning and my evening table, one of which is the Warlock Lair that I wrote for us, and then one is actually something that I've been working on in private for a long time that I've never had a chance to playtest. But in this case, it's going to be using all Kobold Press products. So, there's another really great chance to just come hang out, do some stuff, get some Kobold Press in your blood. And then, of course, keep your eyes peeled. Watch your emails, watch social media. End of this month, the launch of Tome of Beasts 3, the final Tome of Beasts book in the great trilogy collection that you will not want to miss. So start getting your ideas together, start writing up your beast, and if you're like me, start saving so I can back it and get the limited edition.
Yes. Oh, it's gonna be pretty.
Yeah. So. No, it doesn't look like we've got. It looks like Victoria will be at Breakout Con in March. So go see them at Breakout Con. Victoria, of course, is the great mind behind all of our marketing, our very cool videos, and has done some writing for us too, right? Yeah. Victoria's done some writing. So go check them out and make sure to say hey if you are around. Yes, great question. For those of you that came in right at the end, if you want to submit monsters for Tome of Beasts 3, you have to back the Kickstarter. So the best thing to do is to make sure that you're signed up for notifications for when it goes live. And then everybody that has backed it will get additional information regarding how the submission process basically works. So keep your eyes and your ears peeled, and we will get you that information as soon as we have it, as soon as the Kickstarter has launched. It's
really self-defense. If we open it up to the entire public, we'd get 10,000 submissions, and we'd never see the end of it. So.
Yeah, that's a whole separate miserable process. I can say there will be add-ons, but I can't tell you what. That's super secret. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's super secret. So you're going to have to come back next week, same Kobold time, same Kobold channel, for more Kobold chats. We'll be slowly revealing more and more and more of what you can expect from this. And by the end of the month, you'll be able to, back it and find out all about the different options coming along with it, because it is going to be 2 books, both Tome of Beast and Tome of Beast 3 layers. So, I think that's it. We will see all of you next week. Same for Empire of the Ghouls, Tuesday night.
Yes.
We just finished the first chapter. We're moving into the next big section. I'm nervous. I'm real nervous. But, it's going to be... I am very nervous. I am. I actually really am.
It gets grim.
Yeah, it's starting. The process is starting. All right, everybody. Until next time, have a great afternoon, and we'll see you on the flip side. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.